Yankees fans, what a moment we're living through in this offseason. Every day seems to bring a new twist, a new rumor, a new spark that sends the fan base into full-blown debate mode, and nothing has stirred the pot more than the question surrounding Kyle Tucker's free agency. There was a recent internal survey among executives, and the responses were revealing. Out of 16 voices in those rooms, 10 believe he will not reach that gigantic $400 million mark this winter. If they are right and Tucker's final number ends up below that mountain of money, the Yankees have absolutely no excuse. They should be on him like a shadow, following every movement, ready to strike the moment his camp opens the door. This team needs impact. This team needs a bat that changes the lineup the moment it walks into the building. Tucker can do that. Of course, nothing is ever simple in the baseball world because the Dodgers are standing right there on the same path. They need an outfielder, too. Their name always pops up when a superstar becomes available. Maybe they pivot and reunite with Cody Bellinger. Maybe they look at Tucker and think he fits their timeline better. The Dodgers always loom, but the interesting part is hearing the opinions from the decision-makers who participated in that survey. They were also asked where they believe Tucker will land, and the results were scattered across the league. Someone pointed to Baltimore. Another one mentioned Philadelphia. Another leaned toward Detroit. 3 executives said Toronto, 4 said Los Angeles. But 6, more than any other, said they believe Tucker ends up in the Bronx. That is not a small detail. When executives start circling the same destination, it tells you that the league senses a match, even if nothing is formal yet. Now, do I personally think the Yankees are in a real position to get him? I honestly do, not only because of the need in the lineup, but because Tucker is a Tampa-born player, and we all know the Steinbrenner family has always had a soft spot for players who come out of that region. There is a certain connection there that has shown up throughout the years. And if we look at the Yankees' current roster construction, especially after Gresham accepted the qualifying offer, the picture becomes even clearer. Center field for next season is locked in, so that's not where the chase will happen. The Yankees need a corner outfielder. That is where the investment should go, and that is exactly where Tucker fits. Cody Bellinger, of course, is still part of this conversation. If the Yankees had signed him earlier in the offseason, he would have been locked into center field without question. Now that the situation has shifted, he becomes a corner outfield option again, and he is excellent defensively on the corners. There is no denying that. He had a strong defensive season and brought real value with the glove and with his approach. But when you put Tucker's profile side by side, Tucker has a different offensive ceiling. His defense last year was not bad at all, and he has a Gold Glove award in his past, which shows he is absolutely capable of holding his own. The question becomes whether he can transition smoothly into left field if needed. Based on how he has handled right field for the majority of his innings, there is no reason to think he wouldn't adjust. We have seen players make similar moves. Cody Bellinger himself came up as a first baseman and became a phenomenal defensive outfielder. Tucker may not walk in as an instant superstar glove in left, but he certainly wouldn't be a liability. And when we talk offense, that is where the gap really opens. Tucker is an elite hitter, a genuine force at the plate. Last season, he finished with a batting average over .260, more than 20 home runs, and an OPS well above 800. His adjusted OPS was nearly 143, one of the top marks among outfielders. And that was a season when he spent time dealing with injuries. Even then, his performance on the road was exceptional. In fact, if you break down his split numbers, they tell a very encouraging story for a player who might be stepping into Yankee Stadium for 81 games a year. He hit 15 home runs on the road, compared to only 7 at his home park. His road OPS was in the 900s. Put that kind of production in the short porch environment, and suddenly you're talking about a player who could comfortably land in that 35 to 40 home run window every single season. It's almost impossible not to think back to what Curtis Granderson became when he arrived in pinstripes. Granderson blossomed into a power hitter in New York, but Tucker brings a more balanced profile. He strikes out less, hits for a higher average, and has a more advanced approach. It is fair to say that Tucker would produce Granderson-like power without the swing-and-miss worries. And beyond the home runs, he is excellent at driving in runs. He is a top-tier bat in Major League Baseball, and players like that do not become available often. When you weigh the decision between Bellinger and Tucker, you can't treat Tucker as the backup plan. Tucker is the premium option. Tucker is the centerpiece. If anything, Bellinger is the fallback if Tucker slips away. The survey results also brought up another interesting piece. The executives were asked which of four players, Kyle Schwarber, Alex Bregman, Cody Bellinger, and Pete Alonso, was most likely to return to his current team. Bregman and Alonso each received 4 votes. Schwarber received 7. Cody received 0. That does not mean teams do not want him. It simply shows that the people answering each had to pick only one primary option. Still, 0 votes is eye-opening. It signals uncertainty about where he fits long-term. And that leads to another angle that cannot be ignored. Cody's market may end up being massive. He is represented by one of the most aggressive agencies in the sport, and they know how to build momentum. He has had outstanding highs in his career, and teams remember those. But he has also had significant lows. He was brilliant for Chicago in 2023, earned his multi-year contract, and then dipped to an OPS in the 700s the following season. He never found consistency at Wrigley Field, hit well on the road, but could not replicate it at home, and Chicago eventually moved him. The Dodgers had already let him go before that, non-tendering him not long after his most valuable player season. It shows the volatility that follows his career. Tucker, on the other hand, has been far more stable year after year. His only obstacle has been health. When he plays, he produces. Last season, his first half was elite before injuries slowed him. He played around 70 games in 2024 and still hit over 20 home runs. If he stays healthy, he is a star. That is the one concern teams must evaluate: availability. But strictly as a baseball player, Tucker is the better fit. He is the better hitter, the more reliable long-term investment, and his skill set fits perfectly with what the Yankees desperately need. Pairing him with Aaron Judge in the same lineup would be terrifying for opposing pitchers, and imagining those two hitting back-to-back is enough to make any Yankees fan start daydreaming. What makes this whole situation even more fascinating is how the Yankees have positioned themselves in previous seasons when Tucker's name came up. Last year, before he was moved to Chicago, Brian Cashman actively tried to trade for him. That is not speculation. That is not rumor. That is something that was openly discussed, and the reported offer included Ben Rice, Luis Gil, and the choice between Lombard Jr. or Jason Dominguez. That is not a light package. That is a substantial, legitimate, aggressive attempt at landing a premier outfielder. If the Yankees were willing to go that far for Tucker while he was still under club control, imagine the level of interest now that all it costs is money. Cashman mentioned Tucker multiple times during recent interviews, even during that overnight charity stay he does every year. He also mentioned Bellinger, but the fact that Tucker's name kept surfacing shows how firmly he is on their radar. It is hard not to get the sense that the Yankees see an opportunity here. They missed out on major bats in the past. They hesitated on players who could have reshaped the franchise earlier. But this time the conversation feels different. It feels like the front office understands the urgency to add true star power, a bat that can anchor the lineup alongside Aaron Judge and give this team the depth it has been missing for far too long. Judge cannot continue carrying the entire load. He needs help, and Tucker's combination of contact skills, power, and run production makes him feel like the perfect complement. The idea of pitchers having to navigate through Tucker and Judge in the same inning is something that could fundamentally change how opponents approach the Yankees. Another name that entered the conversation recently is the Japanese pitcher Tatsuya. The reporting around this has been unpredictable. Some people believe the Yankees have real interest, while others think Cashman simply stumbled over the kid's name when asked about him. That kind of moment naturally triggers speculation about whether the Yankees are seriously scouting him or using the interest as a leverage tactic. Nobody knows for sure yet, but the Yankees absolutely need pitching, and if they can land a frontline arm along with a major bat, the entire outlook for the season changes. There is a version of this offseason where the Yankees walk away with Tucker and another big addition, and if that scenario unfolds, the fan base will explode with excitement. The dream scenario that some fans whisper about involves going all in, pushing the payroll line far beyond comfort, offloading a few players to make room, signing Tucker, keeping Judge healthy, and pairing everything with another big swing elsewhere on the roster. Every year, there's talk about the Yankees needing to act like the Yankees again, not just in name, but in behavior. They used to be the franchise that overwhelmed competitors with bold moves, that blew past financial barriers without hesitation, that treated available superstars as opportunities rather than luxuries. Those days feel distant now, but if there were ever a moment to bring that identity back, it is the present offseason. Still, even in the middle of all this excitement, it is important to look at the bigger picture of roster construction. The Yankees have several players whose futures could shift depending on who they acquire. Austin Wells is one of them. If the Yankees truly commit to Ben Rice as their long-term catcher, Wells becomes an intriguing trade piece. There are teams that would love to develop him as a bat-first catcher or even as a first base or corner outfield option. If trading Wells helps bring in pitching depth or unlocks financial flexibility that supports a Tucker signing, that is the kind of move that starts to make strategic sense. And if the Yankees do choose that path, it further signals that they are reorganizing the roster around players with higher upside, higher consistency, and healthier long-term projections. The fan base has been hungry for change, and it is not just because of the lack of postseason success recently. It is because the team has felt stuck in the middle for too long, good enough to contend, but not built to dominate. Bringing in a hitter like Tucker is a statement. It says the Yankees are ready to raise the standard again. It says they are done trying to patch holes with short-term fixes. It says they want a core built to last, built to intimidate, built to win. Tucker fits that vision more than almost any other player available this winter. There's also the stylistic side of his game, something that often gets overlooked in analytical debates. Tucker is not just a slugger. He is not just a power threat. He brings a level of approach discipline that the Yankees desperately lack. There have been too many years where the lineup relied heavily on players who chase too often, who strike out too frequently, who rely on streaks instead of consistency. Tucker is the opposite of that. He is steady. He grinds at-bats. He works counts. He adjusts to pitchers mid-at-bat. He brings an energy that elevates the players around him. That type of talent acts like glue in a lineup. It creates balance. It forces opposing pitchers to throw more strikes or risk walking him, which in turn gives the hitters behind him better pitches to drive. In a lineup with Aaron Judge, this effect becomes even more pronounced. And then there is the presence factor. Big game environments do not rattle him. He has been in postseason battles. He has been in pressure-filled situations where games swing on a single pitch. He carries himself like someone who understands the moment, embraces the moment, and elevates his game when the stakes rise. That matters in New York. Not every star settles comfortably in this atmosphere. The intensity, the expectations, the spotlight, some players shrink from it. Tucker feels like the type who would not only handle it, but thrive in it. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. Whispers have begun swirling through front offices and dugouts alike, and by now the buzz has grown too loud to ignore. Corbin Burns, one of the most feared arms in baseball, is reportedly on his way to the New York Yankees in what insiders are already calling a colossal franchise-shifting agreement. Nothing has been confirmed publicly, but the murmurs drifting from club officials and player representatives paint a picture of a move that could reshape the balance of power in the league. According to people close to the negotiations, the Yankees have been quietly but aggressively positioning themselves for a frontline ace, and Burns' name has hovered at the top of every internal list. The right-hander's blend of electric stuff, icy mound presence, and postseason experience has long been viewed in the Bronx as the missing piece in a rotation searching for a true anchor behind its established stars. Now, with sources noting an unusually large framework discussed between the parties, the speculation has reached a fever pitch. Some within the league believe the Yankees have been preparing for this kind of splash for months, subtly clearing payroll pockets and scouting complementary pieces to build around Burns. Executives elsewhere are privately expressing concern that if the deal becomes official, the Yankees' pitching staff could become one of the most intimidating in the sport. Rival clubs are already dissecting what such a move would mean for their own offseason strategies, even as they publicly downplay the reports. Burns himself has remained silent, fueling even more conjecture. Those familiar with his thinking say he has always gravitated toward environments that embrace intensity, pressure, and championship or bust expectations, elements that have long defined life in pinstripes. Observers note that he has rarely shied away from the game's biggest stages, and joining one of baseball's most iconic franchises would only amplify his profile. For now, all that exists is rumor layered upon rumor, but the tone around the league has shifted. What began as a whisper echoing among insiders has grown into a nearly tangible anticipation, a sense that something big is about to break. And if the chatter proves true, the Yankees may soon be unveiling one of the boldest pitching acquisitions in recent memory, one that could reverberate far beyond the Bronx and deep into the heart of the baseball landscape. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.